This hour of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by my good friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold is a 5-star rated gold company with one-of-a-kind customer service. And when it comes to gold and precious metals, Advantage Gold is the only company I'll work with. Call Advantage Gold today and make sure you let them know that Mark Levin sent you. And now, let's begin.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Man, oh man, Shevitz. A lot going on, and we'll tackle all of it. First things first. Former General, I should say retired General Mark Milley, retired General Kenneth McKenzie, both at a hearing today, testifying about the surrender at the end of the Afghanistan debacle. And they pointed the finger directly at Biden and Blinken for making decisions contrary to what the Pentagon recommended. This is the same Biden and Blinken that are trying to destroy Israel Netanyahu's ability to defeat Hamas. These are insane, incompetent, stubborn individuals who are getting people killed. So first, I want you to listen to 2 clips, and then I want to give you some additional information. Here is Milley at the hearing on the withdrawal. How many Americans have been left behind in Afghanistan? How many Americans? Biden's so concerned about Hamas and the Gazans. How many Americans were left behind in Afghanistan? Cut 19, go.
But how many Americans are left behind? How many of our allies? And what has happened to them? Have they been beaten, killed, tortured? And secondly, about all the weapons that were left behind, there are reports that some of it has found its way to Hamas. I don't know if that's true. I know you did everything you could on the way out to destroy them, but many were intact and left in the hands of the Taliban.
I can't speak to the phone call. I don't have any personal knowledge of that. Number of Americans. This was always an issue. The number of Americans, as General McKenzie said, an F-77 report is supposed to, every ambassador in every country of the world keeps an F-77 report, and they're supposed to track the Americans, where they're at, the phone numbers, address, et cetera, in the country. That was always a difficult number for us in the Department of Defense to get a hold of, and I think it's true at the tactical level and operational level as well. And I'll be candid. I don't know the exact number of Americans that were left behind because the starting number was never clear. Same is true of at-risk Afghans, SIVs, the commandos, other Afghans that serve with us. Those numbers varied so widely that they were quite inaccurate, as best I could tell at the time. I would just say I'm not sure, even today, about the accuracy of all those numbers.
You know, this should turn your stomachs. Every single one of us The Department of State is supposed to know through its ambassador, but other instrumentalities, how many Americans are in this place or that place. That's why you have passports. That's why we have airlines keeping information. That's why we have all kinds of ways of knowing at least a good number and their names. The level of incompetence of this administration and the level of ideologically driven policy decisions and the level of shoot from the hip Joe Biden decisions is disgusting, and it costs lives, American lives. How many Americans were there? We don't know. We don't even know what we don't know. Can't even get a decent number. And you know what they did to them. You know they brutalized them. The Islamists' debauchery, they believe, is ordered by Allah himself. I've heard imams say this on memory. The gruesomeness, the sadistic type of attacks. How many of our people were left behind? We don't know. Joe Biden never talks about it. Blinken never talks about it. All they ever talk about are the Gazan citizens. They don't talk about the Israeli citizens. They don't talk about the Israeli IDF. They don't talk about the American soldiers in Afghanistan, American soldiers who lost their lives. They don't talk about any of it. Ever. Ever. And you bastards at MSNBC and CNN and the New York Times and the Washington Post, all the rest of you, give them cover. Give them cover. Nobody holds this administration to account. Nobody. Nobody. Then there's General Kenneth McKenzie, former CENTCOM commander. What about the withdrawal, a.k.a. surrender in Afghanistan? What do you make of that, General? Cut 20, go.
I'd like to talk a little bit now about Abbeygate. It was a tragic event, one of many that have occurred over our 20-year engagement in Afghanistan. It remains my opinion that if there is culpability in this attack, it lies in policy decisions that created the environment of August 2021 in Kabul. Culpability and responsibility do not lie with the troops on the ground, who perform magnificently. It does not lie with the platoon, company, or battalion commanders or the flag officers who oversaw operations on the ground in Kabul. The simple fact is this: on the battlefield, even with good planning, tremendous execution by brave people on the ground, the enemy sometimes has success. To ignore this fact is to ignore the fundamental reality of the battlefield. If there's fault, it lies in a policy decision that placed the joint force in this situation and exposed the force over time to the possibility of these kinds of attacks. We did not rely on the Taliban for our security. We used them as one tool among many to beef up our defensive posture. We avoided a number of potential Abbeygate attacks, and I'm proud of the commanders and troops who prevented them. This is small comfort to those who lost loved ones, and I realize this. Nonetheless, what's remarkable about Kabul is not that the tragedy of Abbeygate happened, but that many other attacks did not happen.
Okay, let me read to you from the New York Post. 2 former top military commanders told lawmakers today that President Biden ordered the chaotic and deadly U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, despite warnings that it would precipitate the collapse of the Western-backed government in Kabul, and then waited too long to initiate the evacuation mission. I want you to keep that in mind while they're threatening Netanyahu and demanding that he not destroy the Hamas battalions that are left, demanding a ceasefire, demanding, been summoned to the White House for a come-to-Jesus moment. And we now know what that means is either you come with bended knee, on bended knee, or we are going to slash the armaments that you get. And you must surrender Judea and Samaria to the Palestinian terrorists. Can you imagine the insanity? And it's not the first time. What these former generals, what these retired generals are saying is, We did not recommend these decisions. They came from the policy elements. It came from the White House, the National Security Council. They came from the State Department. That is, it came from Biden. It came from Sullivan. It came from Blinken, the Three Stooges. They don't know how many Americans were left behind. Do they even talk about the American hostages that Hamas is holding while they give them hundreds of millions of dollars? And I have to hear people say, oh, Joe Biden, he's so fantastic. Are you kidding me? Retired Army General Mark Milley, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, former Marine General Kenneth McKenzie, ex-leader of the U.S. Central Command, appeared before the House Foreign Relations Committee in a bid to shed new light on the tragic pullout which both men oversaw. Milley and McKenzie have testified multiple times before Congress about the withdrawal. Tuesday's voluntary appearances marked the first time they had done so since their retirements. In other words, now they can actually speak, leading lawmakers to believe they would speak more freely about what happened in the days and weeks before the calamity. Quote, my personal analysis was that an accelerated withdrawal would likely lead to the general collapse of the Afghan security forces, which it did, and the Afghan government, which it did, resulting in a large-scale civil war reminiscent of the 1990s or a complete Taliban takeover, and that's what they got. However, the retired general added, Biden overruled his advice. Biden overruled his advice to keep several hundred troops in Afghanistan, claiming he was sticking to a plan set in motion by his predecessor, Donald Trump. Yet again, Donald Trump was right. Yet again, they try and trash Donald Trump. Yet again, Biden is the world's arsonist, burning things down, burning things up. The advice was, leave some troops behind. Don't do this in such a desperate way. The government will collapse. The army, out of fear, will collapse. Exactly what happened. Trump has said over and over again, my plan did not permit it to happen this way. And he's been lied about by the same media bastards that lie all the time. Milley added that he was also not in favor of a unilateral withdrawal of U.S. forces. He said, because of my assessment of the associated costs and risks, and doing so without a permanent ceasefire and power-sharing agreement between the Taliban and the Afghan government. He said the fundamental tension facing the president, in fact, two presidents, was that no one could satisfactorily explain when or even if those conditions would ever be met. And if we stayed indefinitely in open war, would likely begin with the Taliban again with increased risk of additional casualties. Well, Milley's analysis, the front end, proved accurate when the Taliban overran all of Afghanistan, prompting the Biden administration to hurriedly launch the tragic August evacuation mission. This committee, says Michael McCall, the chairman, learned that the State Department did not even request an emergency evacuation until after Kabul was surrounded by the Taliban in mid-August. As a result, the international airport was not secured until August 17, 2 days after Kabul fell. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and fail they did. The generals told the committee the State Department waited too long to initiate the full-scale non-combatant evacuation operation, NEO, which led to thousands of Afghans flooding Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport over the span of 2 weeks. Are you aware the decision to begin at NEO rests with the Department of State, not the Department of Defense? McKenzie said it's with them. But we could do nothing to commence the operation, the evacuation, until an NEO was declared. In other words, until Blinken got off his ass and did something. This is what John McCain meant. Said he's the most dangerous man imaginable. He'll get people killed. And he has. And he's still doing it. McCall agreed with the general's assessment, noting disturbing findings that the State Department leadership, that would be Blinken, prohibited its employees from even uttering the word NEO, in other words, an emergency evacuation, until as late as August of 2021. Too little, too late. And there's God knows how many Americans there who are never going to get out, who've probably been slaughtered. The evacuation mission was marred by the deaths of 170 Afghans, 13 U.S. service members at the Kabul airport's Abbey Gate on August 26, 2021, 4 days before the mission ended. McKenzie said he would take the blame for the tragedy. I was the overall commander, and I alone bear full military responsibility for what happened. No. Biden and Blinken. Full responsibility. Sullivan. Since the end of the mission in Afghanistan, Republicans on the committee have pursued answers about how the U.S. military could end a 20-year war in such a haphazard and bloody manner, leaving behind scores, unknown numbers of Americans and Afghans who assisted Western forces over 2 decades. I'll be candid, Milley said. I don't know the exact number of Americans. You heard what he said. I'm not sure even today. Senator Chris Smith inquired about the fate of Afghans who threw in with the U.S. Milley answered, I think some were killed. I think some of the Afghans were tracked down that worked with us, and I think some of them were killed. I'm certain some of them in pretty brutal ways. Some managed to escape through various means. Others have just laid low and are keeping their heads down. Milley said it was a strategic failure. The enemy occupied Kabul. The overthrow of the government occurred, and the military we supported for 2 decades faded away. To date, no Biden officials have been fired or otherwise held accountable for decisions made related to Afghanistan, as Biden and his allies insist the withdrawal was the right course of action. Extraordinary success, quote unquote, they said. And of course, the Democrats on the committee, led by morons like Gregory Meeks, agreed. An extraordinary success. Now, you think about Israel now in the context of what happened here and what they're doing to Israel. Israel, whose back is against the wall. Netanyahu's well aware of this. They're all well aware of it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Our once mighty dollars under siege from runaway inflation. For those still working, your paychecks buy less while costs for gas, food, cars, utilities skyrocket thanks to inflation. That's why I'm urging all my listeners to register for the upcoming Gold and Silver Summit hosted by our friends at Advantage Gold. It's a fantastic seminar. They'll teach you how to take steps to help guard your wealth from inflation using asset diversification into physical precious metals. Gold and silver hold intrinsic value that should remain untouched by government manipulation. Folks, don't wait for the Fed's reckless policies to completely devalue the dollar and steal your life savings. Call now while free registration is open. I'm telling you, this is a fantastic seminar. Call 800-900-8000 right now. The Gold and Silver Summit could provide the vital insights we need to protect our families. 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Always consult your financial and tax professionals. Wow, my goodness. Did you hear what Donald Trump said about Jews who vote for Democrats? Sounds like something I might have said, Mr. Producer, no? You see, ladies and gentlemen, I told you the story about the event that I attended with some family members about anti-Semitism and the Holocaust and the audience, and how my wife and Colonel West and Stuart Taylor, and others were there, and how there were about 500 people there, and when it came to criticizing the current administration and what they're doing, 30 of them walked out. Well, now we have people like Dana Bash, Donnie Douche, other Jewish people in the media, hardcore left-wing Democrats. They're very upset at Donald Trump. And so I want to address this. We'll be right back. Attention, fellow Americans. Mark Levin here with a warning and a solution. I feel like our country's being destroyed by out-of-control spending and debt thanks to Biden and the American Marxists. And your hard-earned savings and retirement could be at risk from their socialist schemes. That's why you should consider Advantage Gold, the best of the best, a U.S.-based company that specializes in helping everyday Americans protect their wealth. They have a simple solution to help you even potentially grow your wealth despite the attacks from Washington. I urge you to register for their upcoming Gold and Silver Summit. It's fabulous. A free online event where you'll learn tips to help safeguard your finances by diversifying into physical precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. Call them right now to sign up securely. For this pivotal summit, it is crucial. Tell them Mark Levin sent you for a special bonus. Call 800-900-8000 right now. Performance may vary. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's driving the media mad. Mark Levin, call in with your outrage. 877-381-3811.
Nothing President Trump said to my buddy Sebastian Gorka was anti-Semitic. Most of the people in the media who are attacking Donald Trump are the self-hating Jews and the anti-Semites, Gentile and Jewish. I want to read you something from the Torah. It's one sentence. One sentence. There are, as I said up to this, there are American Jews who are intent on destroying the state of Israel. Thomas Friedman, Antony Blinken, the Jewish hosts on CNN, the Jewish hosts on MSNBC. They're the most radical elements. Some of them are Marxists. Some of them are just Democrat foot soldiers. But I've explained it again and again over the years that they are power hungry. Power, the Democrat Party, that's what they care about. Anything and anyone that gets in the way of it must be destroyed, imprisoned, a coup, defamed, smeared. Yes, this was all prophesied. Isaiah 49:17. 49:17, I quote, "Your destroyers and demolishers will emerge from you." You hear that, Mr. Producer? Your destroyers and demolishers will emerge from you. The enemy from within. The George Soros types. The Dana Bash types. There's just so many. And so let's begin by what Donald Trump said, which is not that different than what I said over the weekend to our buddy Sebastian Gorka of the Salem Broadcasting Network. Cut one, go.
Could you explain why is it seemingly that this administration, including Chuck Schumer in the Senate, so hate the man that Israel chose as their prime minister? Why do the Democrats hate Bibi Netanyahu?
I actually think they hate Israel.
Yes.
I don't think they hate him. I think they hate Israel. And the Democrat Party hates Israel. And the Democrat Party, if you remember, when many Israeli representatives, including Netanyahu, when they came to the country begging, at that time President Obama, please don't make the Iran nuclear deal, which is a disaster and was a disaster. And I ended it. But unfortunately, they didn't do anything with the ending of it. I ended it and would have had a new deal made with Iran. It would have been good for everybody, and there would have been no nuclear weapons. You know, they're very close to getting a nuclear weapon right now. Yes. And once they have that, it becomes a different form of negotiation, a much more difficult negotiation. But I really believe they hate Israel, and they also see a lot of votes. Don't forget, when you see those Palestinian marches, even I'm amazed at how many people are in those marches. And guys like Schumer see that, and to him it's votes. I think it's votes more than anything else, because he was always pro-Israel. He's very anti-Israel now. Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion. They hate everything about Israel. And they should be ashamed of themselves, because Israel will be destroyed. You have Iran now making a nuclear weapon. None of that would have happened with me. That's a big thing. With me, Iran was broke.
So you have these Democrat commentators dressed up as journalists, Democrat guests. dressed up as commentators, saying that's anti-Semitic. So here's Donald Trump trying to defend the state of Israel, trying to defend the Jews, telling them, as a non-Jew, how the hell can you vote for these people who are destroying your religion, destroying your people, destroying your faith, and destroying the Jewish homeland? So Joe Biden and his campaign put out that it's anti-Semitic. CNN, Dana Bash, who is a complete shill at this point, in my view, for Hamas, the Democrat Party, Biden, they're really all one and the same at this point. And I'll tell you why. There's no way you can hear these imams in Dearbornistan and throughout California, New Jersey, and the things that they're saying, not all, but too damn many, about obliterating the Jews in this country and about Israel, and not report it unless you hate Israel. And, of course, Dana Bash has not reported it. Jake Tapper has not reported it. They don't even have to do any work. It's right there in the memory website. Wolf Blitzer has not reported it. Andrea Mitchell has not reported it. And he's 100% correct. Joe Biden's threatening to cut off arms to Israel now. Oh, I'm going to vote for him. Then you're a self-hating Jew. There's self-hating Catholics. There's self-hating Protestants. You then are that you're a self-hating Jew. You're literally voting with the people in the streets who are talking about exterminating the Jews, the river to the sea. You're casting your vote with them for the same party and the same candidate. I'm sorry if that offends you. Actually, I'm not. I could give a damn. You know, we always talked about never again. Well, it's here again. And in addition to Isaiah 49:17, destroyers and demolishers will emerge from you. God's words, from you. Thomas Jefferson, Joseph Story, Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, them and others, they all said, if America is to be destroyed, it's to be destroyed from within. If we have a strong, united America, we cannot be defeated. If we have a weak, unraveling America, then obviously we can be and we will be. Just like Athens, just like Rome. And Rome was around for 1,000 years. Its republic was around for almost 500 years. We haven't even hit 300 years yet. Donald Trump, ask the people of Israel. You like Trump or Biden? It's not even close. Ask left-wing Jews who were born Jews but do not practice the religion, or certainly don't practice it in any significant way. Maybe they're Reformed Jews, like I was, which means you don't know a damn thing about your faith. Nothing. Who was Samuel? What? Tell us about the Second Temple. What? Where's Shiloh? Or Shiloh? What? That's what you'll get. Sugar cookies and grape juice. That's all I ever got when I went to Reform Synagogue. Went to Reform Synagogue till the age of 20-something. Didn't learn a damn thing about my faith. Just left-wing politics, day in and day out. Now I have a Chabad rabbi, and I learn day in and day out, as much as I want to, or as little as I want to, about the history. Took me to getting to the age of 60. So you cannot possibly appreciate the state of Israel if you're Jewish, if you don't appreciate your own faith. That's Schumer's problem, Thomas Friedman's problem, and a guy by the name of Donnie Douche. So Joe Scarborough, who's surrounded by self-hating Jews, he thinks this protects him, like his wife, Mika Brzezinski, her daddy. He hated Israel too, as the national security advisor to Jimmy Carter. To Jimmy Carter. And by the way, there's a reason why the Islamist, Marxist anti-Semites have a home in the Democrat Party, not the Republican Party. There's a reason why scores of Democrats vote against virtually any resolution in support of Israel or condemning the Palestinian terrorists. There's a reason for it, because the Democrat Party is the home to the river to the sea crowd. Dearborn, Michigan. other places, strongholds where these communities are. Again, it doesn't mean every single person. I got it. How many more times do I have to say it? I got it. But the truth is the truth. And the left-wing individuals in the media, Jew and non-Jew, they want to silence me. They want to silence Trump. Ain't going to work. Because they're fully out of the closet now. Spinning the Hamas casualty numbers. It's sick. Trashing Israel's commander-in-chief. They're getting all their talking points from Biden. Blinken, the great Afghanistan surrender boys. Here's this guy, Donnie Douche. Now, Donnie Douche does not have any independent reason to be anywhere. So he's a foil for Scarborough. Scarborough is the Biden whisperer. Whispers in Biden's ear every morning. They exchange wet kisses. And basically, Scarborough gets his marching orders. It's too bad because he's completely sold out his integrity, of which there's none left. So here's Donnie Douche. Go.
Chuck Schumer has spent, Donnie Deutsch, his entire life the victim of anti-Semitic tropes.
Oh, bullcrap. Oh, poor Chuck Schumer, anti-Semitic tropes. There's not a Jew on the face of the earth that hasn't faced that. But Chuck Schumer supported arming Iran with nuclear weapons. Oh, he voted against it, Mark. But he pulled together the Democrats in the Senate to vote for it. Then he votes against it. What about that, Joey? Is that a problem? So they're going to build up Schumer as some kind of savior of Israel. Now, you see Schumer on the Senate floor. Is he a savior of anything, America? It's a funny thing. Joe Scarborough used to detest Schumer in the Democrat Party. Now he's all in, baby. So who's changed? Joe has changed. And why is he changed? For shekels. May I use that Hebrew word, Mr. Producer? For shekels. That's all. Go ahead.
A fierce defender of Israel. Now suddenly Donald
fierce
Trump.
Defender of Israel. He just gave a speech trashing Israel. That speech is quoted now by Hamas. Quoted by Hamas. The Iranians are loving everybody. Joe, do you have to be the Tokyo Rose of this? Why are you Tokyo Rose? I mean, why are you being such a putz? Go ahead.
That he again will determine, Donald Trump will determine who is a bad Jew. And
no, he doesn't. That's not what he said. Why would any Jew vote for a Democrat? It's a question many Jews have. Why would any Jew, at this point anyway, vote for a Democrat? Oh, it's such a strange question, Mark. Really? Well, you watch Jake Tapper. You watch Wolf Blitzer. You watch Andrea Mitchell and some of the others. Watch them. Dana Bash, good Lord. Dumb as a doorknob. And the sanctimony. All of a sudden, they're Jews. All of a sudden, they're faithful Jews. I know what a Jew is. No, you don't, actually. You're born a Jew. You don't know a damn thing. No, I know what a Jew is. No, you don't. You secularists in Judaism and Catholicism and whatever ism there is, you don't know a damn thing. But all of a sudden, they use Hamas numbers. They use Hamas talking points. They don't trash Biden for funding Iran. No. They don't say a thing when Joe Biden is silent about Ivory school presidents allowing Jewish kids get chased from room to room. They say nothing. Nothing. There was a Chabad in Florida that was torched, burned to the ground 48 hours ago. Have you heard about it other than from me? Where's Joe Biden? Usually he's there like an ambulance chaser, but no. It's the Jews, so he's not. He'd go there and talk about Islamophobia. Here we have a U.S.-Israeli cafe in the Upper West Side of New York, smeared and stained. I see it, the graffiti. These are little crystal knocks taking place, ladies and gentlemen. Not a word. And there's others I have here in a pile. Another day, more graffiti, more torturing, more violence, more attacking Jews. I'm sorry, I don't see it against every day against the Muslims. And by the way, neither does the FBI. Despite the propaganda the Hamas front group CARE puts out. But where's Joe Biden? He says nothing. He doesn't go to these sites and say, we've got to stop. Not a word. He doesn't want to upset the river to the sea crowd, does he, Joe Scarborough? Let's listen to more. The Rabbi, Donnie Douche. Go ahead.
Of Israel, your thoughts?
I think out of all the things that Donald Trump has ever said that have offended my core, this is it.
But let me tell you something, you little sniveling bastard. Nobody cares about your core. You're a dancing monkey on MSNBC. They bring you in to say your dumbass things. That's what they do. You're a dancing monkey. That this affects him to his core, not Hamas. Not Biden funding Iran. Not the speech that Schumer gave. No, Donald Trump calling out Donnie Douche and people like Donnie Douche. That affects him to his core. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
My fellow Americans, we're living in very perilous economic times. Washington seems determined to bankrupt our nation with endless stimulus spending. As they devalue our dollar, hard-working Americans like you could lose everything. That's why I urge you strongly, register for the upcoming Gold and Silver Summit hosted by our friends at Advantage Gold. They'll teach you how to help guard your wealth using asset diversification into physical precious metals. Gold and silver can offer a defense against the dollar's devaluation, and the experts at Advantage Gold will explain how you can convert some of your savings into precious metals that can protect and potentially grow your wealth. With currency debasement from Washington and global uncertainty on the rise, gold and silver diversification can offer you some stability. Call 800-900-8000 right now to sign up. 800-900-8000 now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Mark, don't ever call out Donnie Douche. Donnie, we've told you this before on the air. You're welcome to come on the program. I can test. You asked, who is he to find what a Jew is? Let's test your knowledge, Donnie. It's not like I'm some kind of expert or some kind of rabbi, but it's like you're a know-nothing left-wing Democrat hack who just keeps showing what a drama queen you are, how you're so offended. You're not offended by Joe Biden's embrace of Hamas or the PLO or Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran funding them directly and indirectly, reversing all of Trump's policies. You're not offended by any of that, but Donald Trump, you are. And your sidekick there, Bozo the Scarborough, he's going on and on about Trump being Hitler. This is anti-Semitic garbage. I mean, why is Joe Scarborough playing the role of Joe Biden's puppet dummy? It's like Joe Biden has his hand behind Scarborough's head, is moving his head around and his mouth. And he's starting to sound as incoherent and prone to gibberish as Biden as well. Even his wife is sitting there making faces at him. Did you notice that, Mr. Producer? Gee whiz, man. You're very different in private than you're on TV. It's TV, you know, the light comes on and you turn into a flaming whack job. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
There's simply no rational justification for being a Democrat if you love our country or if you love the state of Israel. There is none. Fundamental transformation is a phrase that Obama stole from Marx, and fundamental transformation means the destruction of that which exists. It means they don't love their country. They don't love their people. If you hate America and you're an American, why would you love Israel? I've told you before. If you hate America, you hate Israel. If you love America, you love Israel. These people are finally being called out, starting by me. And you might recall a few months back, they had the nerve, and everybody was laughing, except them, they're so stupid, to call me an anti-Semite. Remember that, Mr. Producer? CNN, I mangled a word. Oh my God. And then the White House, and then the Huffington Post, then the Daily Beast, and the usual hemorrhoids. Let's say hemorrhoid. They're hemorrhoids. I call them hemorrhoids. They don't think for themselves. They're part of a mob. And mobs are dangerous things. The Constipated News Network, there's a reason why CNN is literally despised in the state of Israel, as it is in virtually every home in America. There's a reason why nobody in Israel knows who Joe Scarborough is. There's a reason why Joe Biden is now detested in Israel. And the great Chuck Schumer, who Scarborough builds up, is now hated in Israel. These people have been terrorized. They've suffered horrific attacks at the hands of terrorists, and not just once, repeatedly. They've rallied. They're defeating this enemy. Even the enemy didn't think it could be defeated like this. While the Democrat Party is defending Hamas, while the Democrat Party media is using Hamas's statistics, even though they know it's a lie, giving them 100 opportunities to fix it, with our professor from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, they won't. New York Times hired a Hitler-supporting photographer, Palestinian. CNN, the others, have done the same over the time period. Independent contractors. They're not fooling anybody. So what Trump is saying is correct. What's upsetting these left-wing Democrats, the Thomas Friedmans, the Danish Bashes, and everything else, is that Trump has the guts to say what is true. Something I've been saying now for weeks, and said on Fox this weekend, and said behind this microphone, and said on The Blaze. The danger comes from within. The destruction of the United States, from the Islamists and the Marxists. The destruction of the State of Israel from the Islamists, the Marxists, and the self-haters. And just to remind you, the New York Times covered up the Holocaust. It pushed it to the back pages. The ownership was German-Jewish. I mean, obviously American, but German-Jewish. They got their relatives out of Germany, but they wouldn't report on the Third Reich in any significant or sustained way. They were secular Jews, that is, ethnic Jews, not faithful Jews. In fact, Sulzberger, that Sulzberger in particular, he was embarrassed by the Zionists. He was embarrassed by the Orthodox Jews. He was carrying favor with Franklin Roosevelt, much like Dana Bash, much like Jake Tapper, much like individuals of that ilk, Thomas Friedman. Rather than condemn what this administration is doing, they regurgitate it, celebrate it, and collude with it. And so when Trump calls them out, he's correct. He's correct. So listen to this self-serving Dana Bash. Cut 4, go.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a long-standing anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country.
What does that mean? He didn't talk about allegiance to country. He talked about allegiance to your party. See what I mean? There she is. She slipped up. For the Democrats like Dana Bash, the country is the Democrat Party. It's not America. There's no trope here. It's not an anti-Semitic trope to say that Jewish people should not be allied with or vote for the Democrat Party. That's not a trope, number one. So she's using party as country. Something I've told you all along is how these leftists think. Jew or non-Jew. Gentile or atheist or agnostic. It doesn't matter. What I'm telling you is, for Democrats, the Democrat Party is the country. The Democrat Party is bigger than the country. So I want to start. I'm the only one that would catch this from her because this is what I study. This is what I read. This is what I tell you. Let's start again. Cut 4, go.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a long-standing anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country.
See what I mean? See what I mean? Donald Trump never said Jews don't have allegiance to the United States of America. It never came out of his mouth. He never, ever said that. He was talking about the Democrat Party, a significant faction of which hates the Jews, embraces Hamas. That's why the Islamists vote Democrat when they vote. This is a fact, which has nothing to do with Trump. He just sees it, and he says it. So Dana Bash has to twist it like the demagogic, propagandist, left-wing kook that she is. One more time, because nobody catches this but me. Let's underscore it. Cut 4, go.
Let's recognize this comment for what it is, a long-standing anti-Semitic trope that the true allegiance for Jews is to their religion rather than their country.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said. That's the poison that came out of your big mouth. And you owe Trump an apology first thing tomorrow. So does CNN. I'm sure the White House will accuse you of being an anti-Semite. I'm accusing you, Dana Bash, of being a self-hater, of promoting Hamas. You had Netanyahu on your program the other day. You wouldn't let him finish his sentence. You were using all of Hamas's talking points, which are almost identical to the Biden administration's talking points. You talk about civilian casualties. You never corrected the number that Hamas puts out there and said, what do you do about that? It was all attack, 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 attack. You're a self-hater. This is the commander-in-chief of the Israeli people fighting terrorist organizations. And your hero Biden is funding the terrorist organizations. So don't lie through your big mouth when Trump did not say what you said he said. He never said that Jews don't have allegiance to America. He said that Jews should not support the Democrat Party. And I agree, as do tens of millions of us, including Jews, including Andrew Stein, the former president, Democrat of the New York City Council. He wrote a piece. Why would you support the Democrat Party if you're Jewish today, when you have a president who's kowtowing to Islamists, the river to the sea crowd? Why would you do that? When you have Jewish facilities being bombed and graffiti of the worst kind, he says nothing, not a word. Why would you support that, Dana Bash? Why would you support that? You create the trope and put it in Trump's mouth. Because you're a clown. And you and your network give more cover to Hamas and the other terrorists than any other network. They quote you guys. They cite you guys. Maybe they'd surrender. Maybe they'd be more easily destroyed, but for the motivation that CNN and they'll give to these enemies, these terrorists. Go ahead.
Was used in Nazi Germany to justify the arrest.
Nazi Germany. There you know you're dealing with a leftist. Everybody is Hitler who they disagree with. The fundamental transformation crowd. The river to the sea crowd. Then it's time to overthrow Bibi Netanyahu and Israel crowd. It's time to cut off weapons to Israel if they don't bow to Joe Biden. And the river to the sea crowd. Oh, yeah. So why attack the Democrat Party? It's like attacking your own country when it comes to brainless Dana Bash. Pathetic. Then CNN brings on Holly Suffer. Who is she? Jewish Democratic Council of America CEO. Oh, this ought to be good. Oh, that's perfect. That's good. Now let's hear what John Berman has to say. John Berman has the brain capacity of a clogged toilet. All right, cut 2, go. Cut 5, I mean.
Donald Trump, who is not Jewish, is telling
Wait a minute, he's not Jewish? Now, you know what's funny about that? Look how they treat you. Is Joe Biden Jewish? Is Joe Biden Jewish? And yet look what he's doing to the Jewish state of Israel. He's destroying it. At a Hanukkah event, my family and I were invited to the White House. I stood way in the back. President sees me, calls me up there. This is the president, the Abraham Accords. This is the president who cut off Iran, had his foot on their throat. This is the president who cut off Hamas. This is the president who put the Houthis on the terrorist list. This is the president who cut off Arafat's PLO. This is the president who ordered his ambassador to veto anything that came up, which was an attack on Israel by all these genocidal regimes. This is the president who has a Jewish son-in-law and daughter and Jewish grandchildren. This is the president who signed the executive order so that Jewish students would have legal protection under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is how they're bringing these lawsuits now. And I could go on and on and on. And I went up there and I said something to the effect, Happy Hanukkah to the country's first Jewish president. And Jake Tapper freaked out. Couldn't believe it. How could anybody say that? Easily. Can you name a president who's been better in this regard? Any? And Joe Biden's the worst. And so Dana Bash and Hallie Safer and CNN, they're desperate. So you get really stupid people like John Berman who brings this woman on and then asks this question. Cut 5, go.
how to be Jewish. What issue do you have with that?
All right, stop. What are you, clown pal? Donald Trump didn't tell people how to be Jewish. Dana Bash doesn't even know what it means to be Jewish. Jake Tapper doesn't know what it means to be Jewish. Anthony Blinken doesn't know what it means to be Jewish. They're ethnic Jews. They were born Jews. They're not practicing Jews just because they show up at Reform Synagogue now and then, acknowledge the high holidays, get their grape juice and their sugar cookie, and off they go. That doesn't mean crap. Not a damn thing. I told you before all this, maybe a couple months ago, this conflict within the Jewish community. It exists in all religious communities. I told you that the secular ethnic Jews who go through the motions hate the Orthodox and the religious Jews. Hate them. Hate them. They vote completely differently. So when Donald Trump exposes the Dana Bashers, the Jake Tappers, the Haley Sofers, oh my God, their head's going to explode. Their party is the party of the Islamists. Their party is the party of Biden, who is funding the terrorists in Iran. Their party is the party of the river to the sea crowd in Dearbornistan and other parts of the United States. Their party is the party with the anti-Semite Jew haters in Congress. That's their party. The same party that supported slavery. The same party that supported segregation. The same party that was behind Jim Crow. The same party that was behind eugenics. Used it against blacks. That party, the Democrat damn party, the most evil party in American history. That's the party. How dare you say that? Trump must be Hitler. Trump is more Jewish than Dana Bash could ever be. Trump is more Jewish than Jake Tapper could ever be. Trump is more Jewish than Dan Abrams and that wig that's glued to his head like a squirrel and that crap operation that he founded, Mediocrite. Trump hating, Netanyahu hating, giving aid and comfort to the enemy, whoever the enemy is, day in and day out, with the miscreants and the prepubescents. Oh, let's get this clip. Oh, did you see what Mark Levin posted? Oh, let's do that too. Boy, what a waste of life. So what did Haley have to say, Mr. Producer? Go.
Thanks, John. Well, what we heard yesterday from Donald Trump was entirely consistent with the message that he has sent to the vast majority of American Jews for years. In 2019, he said that any Jew who supports Democrats...
The message that he sent the vast majority of American Jews for years? You disgusting political hack. Have you spoken out against Bernie Sanders? Have you spoken out? Yes? Do you know what your hero, the Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, used to say about Jews and his good uncle? An out-of-the-closet anti-Semite? Do you understand the Jewish Democratic Council of America CEO? Do you understand the filth that's in your party? You jerk! And you give them cover? There you are on CNN. Who would have guessed? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Switch to Pure Talk today and get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. No 4-line requirement, no activation fees, just a Samsung that's built to last with a rugged screen, quick charging battery, and top-tier data security. Qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot. Pure Talk will connect you to the most dependable 5G network in America for half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. So let Pure Talk's expert U.S. customer service team help you make the switch today. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone and start saving on wireless today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk. I want you to see how the black community today is treated by the same Democrat Party. I've talked about the Jews. If you don't fall in line with the Democrat Party and their media, and their grotesque media, they try to make it very painful for you. Whenever you have a black American who thinks for him or herself, who decides, maybe I'll vote for Republican. I'm not buying into this radical left-wing kook stuff. No, I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy, or no, I actually believe in freedom over redistribution of wealth. When they don't sing from the same page, the Democrat Party says they must be destroyed. It's a long list of patriotic, freedom-loving black Americans who are treated this way, whether they're on the Supreme Court, whether they're in the Senate, like Tim Scott, whomever they are, wherever they are, they come in the same damn treatment. I'll be right back. Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Switch to Pure Talk today and get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. No 4-line requirement, no activation fees, just a Samsung that's built to last with a rugged screen, quick charging battery, and top-tier data security. Qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot. Pure Talk will connect you to the most dependable 5G network in America for half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. So let Pure Talk's expert U.S. customer service team help you make the switch today. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone and start saving on wireless today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the research arm of conservative media. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
I want to remind you about the Democrat Party, so we're going to go through some history the remainder of this hour, and could be the bulk of the next hour. So if that doesn't turn you on, you can go elsewhere. But I'm just giving you a heads up. But if you really want to understand things, stay with me. I point this out in The Democrat Party Hates America. When Roosevelt's civil rights record, so we're going to talk about blacks and Jews. When Roosevelt's civil rights record toward blacks is scrutinized, it's not as generally described by historians and professors supportive of the New Deal and Roosevelt's socialist economic policies. In fact, it's deeply troubling. For example, Roosevelt established the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, in 1934. Its ostensible purpose was to ensure mortgages, thereby promoting home ownership, right? However, it furthered racial segregation, ready? By specifically denying insurance in and around black neighborhoods. Incredibly, the FHA was subsidizing builders who were mass-producing entire subdivisions for whites with the requirement that none of the homes be sold to African Americans. The term redlining comes from the FDR administration, the development by the New Deal, the federal government of maps of every metropolitan areas in the country. And those maps were color-coded by first the Homeowners Loan Corporation and then the FHA, and then adopted by the Veterans Administration. And those color codes were designed to indicate to developers where it was safe to insure mortgages. And anywhere where African Americans lived nearby were colored red. Hence redlining, to indicate to appraisers that those neighborhoods were too risky to insure mortgages. Oh, the Great New Deal and Franklin Roosevelt, the progressive Democrats. Roosevelt infamously and unceremoniously slighted the great black Olympian Jesse Owens. White athletes who had competed in the 1936 Berlin Olympics were later invited to meet the president at the White House, except for one. Owens, the star of those Olympics, was not. Owens complained. He complained in his own biography that he was insulted. Asked if he was snubbed by Hitler at the Olympics, whom he had not met, Owens replied, "Hitler didn't snub me. It was FDR who snubbed me." And I'm quoting his book. "The president didn't even send me a telegram." Owens campaigned for Roosevelt's Republican opponent, Alf Landon, when he returned from Europe. What do you think about that, Dana Bash, you clown? Even when the issue was the horror of lynching, Roosevelt refused to support federal anti-lynching legislation. In 1940, black heavyweight boxing champion Joe Louis endorsed Roosevelt's Republican opponent, Wendell Willkie. Why? Well, he said if Mr. Willkie is elected, he's promised in writing to put over the anti-lynching bill. Roosevelt has been in office for 8 years and done nothing. The people in the North don't know how long is 8 years. Roosevelt feared he would lose Democrat Party support, especially in the South, and would not gain an unprecedented third term if he backed the bill. These Democrats like Biden, they're voting whores. They're electoral whores. Therefore, the anti-lynching bill passed by almost all Republicans and most Northern Democrats, it died. Not to be successfully resurrected until the presidency, during the rest of FDR's presidency. And in the same year, Roosevelt refused to reintegrate the armed forces, which Wilson, another Democrat, had segregated. The fact is that Roosevelt did little for the black community, just like Biden. Author Bruce Bartlett notes that Roosevelt never used his political capital to do anything meaningful to help blacks. He never spoke to the NAACP or gave a single speech devoted to a black concern, and even banned black reporters from White House press conferences. Gee, I'll bet Dana Bash doesn't know anything about it. Meanwhile, professors all over the world have voted FDR the third greatest president in history. Why? Because he was a socialist. That's why. That's it. Raphael Medoff goes further, explaining that Roosevelt, Democrat, his personal prejudices appeared to influence his decision-making as well. He explained that, ready for this? Roosevelt enlisted government resources to advance his idea on racial engineering. In 1942, he commissioned 3 prominent anthropologists to study, quote, problems arising out of racial admixtures, interracial marriage. A senior White House aide instructed them, quote, the president wishes to be advised what will happen when various kinds of European, Scandinavian, Germanic, so forth, are mixed with the, hold on now, South American. Pulling it up. The South American-based stock. Roosevelt also wanted to know, is the South Italian stock, say Sicilian, as good as the North Italian stock, say Milanese, if given equal social and economic opportunity? If 10,000 Italians were to be offered settlement facilities, what proportion of the 10,000 should be Northern Italians and what's Southern Italians? Even given all that was in Roosevelt's plate, I write, in 1942, he was focused on this racial crap. What of Roosevelt's relation with the Jewish community? Democrats, Dana Bash. May I dare read this? It's often believed to have been admirable. Roosevelt had some prominent Jews advising him as president, including in his cabinet. But his more complete record respecting Jews has been censored in significant ways, or worse, embellished, even today in books and documentary films. And by the way, many of them by Jews. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. There are evil people in every faith and every religion. I'm just pointing something out. That is the third rail that you're not allowed to touch. But I am sick and tired of people wringing their hands, claiming to be this, claiming to be that, for the sole purpose of trying to destroy Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. They're giving cover to the Islamists, to the terrorists, and they're all Democrats. All of them. Every damn one of them. In his March 1933 inaugural address, Roosevelt declared in part, we are stricken by, hey, Joe Scarborough, listen to this one. We are stricken by no plague of locusts compared with the perils which our forefathers conquered because they believed and were not afraid. We have still much to be thankful for. Nature still offers her bounty, and human efforts have multiplied it. Plenty is at our doorstep, but a generous use of it languishes in the very sight of the supply. Primarily, this is because the rulers of the exchange of mankind's goods have failed through their own stubbornness and their own incompetence. They've admitted their failure and abdicated practices of the unscrupulous money changers. There's your blood libel, Dana Bash, used by your hero, Democrat Franklin Roosevelt. By the unscrupulous money changers, meaning Jews, that's what he meant, stand indicted in the court of public opinion, rejected by the hearts and minds of the men and the women. And then Roosevelt's purposeful inaction during the Holocaust to assist Jews being slaughtered by the millions was contemptible and unconscionable. Professor Madoff explains, here is the president who is regarded as a humanitarian, who portrayed himself as the champion of the little man, who had the power to save many Jews from the Holocaust, but who, to quote Fowler Harper, the Solicitor General for the Interior Department in the 1940s under FDR, quote, he would not lift a finger to help them. His was the administration that kept the immigration quotas 90% underfilled, that is the Jewish numbers, meaning it could have saved another 190,000 Jews under the existing quotas without changing the immigration laws at all. Roosevelt wouldn't do it. Joe Scarborough, you're such an ignoramus. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, you people make me sick to my stomach. Dan Abrams and the clown show that you put together over there with Mediaite. He was the administration that sent planes to bomb German oil factories less than 5 miles from the gas chambers at Auschwitz, but refused to instruct them to drop bombs on the gas chambers or the railway lines, even after receiving maps and detailed information about what was happening in the concentration camps. His was the administration that refused to pressure the British to open the gates of Palestine, Israel proper, so Jews could find refuge in their homeland. Now, as I mentioned, Roosevelt had Jewish associates, however, notably the White House and particularly the State Department were populated with several infamous anti-Semites. At state, where the decisions about immigration and refugee issues were made, Roosevelt nearly always backed the bigots who blocked the migration of Jewish refugees trying to escape extermination camps. The U.S. immigration quota from Germany was filled for the first time in 1939, almost filled in 1940. In all other years of Nazi rule, 33 to 45, the quota was not filled. In fact, they came very, very short of it. The person directly in charge of the visa process at state, see, this has been a problem always at the State Department, was Samuel Breckinridge Long, whom Roosevelt met and became good friends with when both served in the administration of racist Democrat Woodrow Wilson. Long became a major donor to Roosevelt's presidential campaign in 1932. He was previously rewarded with an ambassadorship to Italy. Long's dispatches to Washington from Rome praised the fascist Mussolini regime for its well-paved streets, dapper black-shirted stormtroopers, and I'm quoting, and punctual trains. In his private diary, Long, quote, described Hitler's Mein Kampf as eloquent in opposition to Jewry and Jews as exponents of communism and chaos. Dana Bash, did you know this? Jake. All Democrats. Long was a Democrat. All Democrats. Not a Republican among them. Long regularly briefed Roosevelt on his efforts to suppress Jewish immigration below the level allowed by existing law. In one diary entry from October 1940, Long mentioned meeting with FDR to discuss, quote, the whole subject of immigration, visas, safety to the United States, procedures to be followed, and I found that he was 100% in accord with my ideas. Not until 1944, when Congress got wind of Long's doings and began to publicly raise concerns, was Long finally demoted and ultimately left the State Department. The damage had been done. That's your hero, Dana Bash. Donnie Douche. Imagine that. Trump says, Jews shouldn't vote for Democrats, Mr. Producer. What is he thinking? Throughout his life, Roosevelt made blatantly bigoted private remarks about Jews. Though he's not alone among presidents in this regard, Roosevelt, as Medoff writes, allowed his prejudices to influence his policies regarding America's response to the persecution of European Jews. Among other things, Roosevelt blamed Polish Jews for anti-Semitism in Poland, spoke of the understandable complaints, I'm quoting, of the Germans about the prominence of Jews in some professions, boasted to a colleague that we know we have no Jewish blood in our veins, helped bringing about a quota on Jewish students admitted to Harvard, and recommended that Jews be spread out thin around the world so they would not dominate any particular economy or culture. There's your Klansman. There's your white supremacist. There he is, Democrats. Your great hero, Franklin Roosevelt, racist, anti-Semite. I dare you to challenge anything I've said. Anything. But they go after Trump. And we have our racist anti-Semite in the Oval Office right now. A chip off the old FDR block. Says one thing publicly, and look what he's doing. Look what he's doing to the state of Israel that has its back against the wall. And look at the Democrats in and out of the media still slobbering all over them. Look at them trying to compare Trump to Hitler when Trump has done more for the state of Israel than all former presidents combined, perhaps other than Truman, who first acknowledged the state. Oh, but Chuck Schumer, don't you know? Then there was Joseph F. Kennedy. You may have heard of the Kennedy clan, the patriarch of the Kennedy clan and a powerful Democrat. He was a contemptible anti-Semite and pro-Third Reich, anti-Winston Churchill isolationist who undermined U.S. policies as ambassador to Britain. He was so bad that FDR had to yank him back. He was communicating to the Third Reich through the back door, giving them his support. Democrats saw. No, if you're Jewish, I would not vote Democrat for a lot of reasons. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Pure Talk believes in American values and that free should mean exactly that, free. Switch to Pure Talk today and get a free Samsung 5G smartphone. No 4-line requirement, no activation fees, just a Samsung that's built to last with a rugged screen, quick charging battery, and top-tier data security. Qualifying plans start at just $35 a month for unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot. Pure Talk will connect you to the most dependable 5G network in America for half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year. So let Pure Talk's expert U.S. customer service team help you make the switch today. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and claim your eligibility for your free brand new Samsung 5G smartphone and start saving on wireless today. Again, go to puretalk.com/Levin to switch to my cell phone company, Pure Talk. Everything I'm telling you is a historical, provable, unequivocal fact. Footnoted up the wazoo. And it'll be utterly ignored by the very people I'm directing it towards. At CNN and MSNBC, the New York Times and the Washington Post, the networks, at Mediocrite run by the despicable Dan Abrams, all of them. I come on here and I provide you with a professor's analysis of Hamas's numbers. He says they're phony. I bring him on Fox. He's written an entire piece on it. He's available to anybody. He's ignored. I come behind this microphone and I give you two surveys, one by an Arab survey institution, one by a Palestinian survey institution, both of which say 85 to 90% of the people they surveyed, whether in Gaza or Judea or Samaria, support Hamas and supported October 7th, which gives the lie to all the peaceful Palestinians. These are facts. It's not me making them up. But then, you see, because I'm not a Jew who comes to them on bended knee. I don't throw in with the mob. I think for myself. God gave you and me the tools to be independent, thinking human beings. Not to be party apparatchiks for the Democrat Party. Where Dana Bash said it. Didn't she? She said country when Trump was talking about party. Because that's the way they think. And that's the way totalitarian regimes think. And that's the way their totalitarian mouthpieces think. Just like Dana Bash. But, Mark, that was so long ago with Franklin Roosevelt and Kennedy. Oh, yes, yes. Everything is so long ago. Well, I'll bring you up to speed. That's why the next chapter says the Democrat Party, racism, and anti-Semitism today. We'll finish our little history lesson in our next hour. Then we'll move along. But if I don't serve as the counterweight to these despicable, unconscionable, immoral, phony news organizations and their surrogate front groups, then who the hell will?
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. So like clockwork, Dana Bash says this is an anti-Semitic trope. So now Schumer goes to the floor and attacks Trump. This is an anti-Semitic trope. The entire effort is to take attention away from what Schumer said, what Biden's doing, Tlaib, the river to the sea crowd, so that so-called independent or even liberal Jews who are thinking about voting for Trump are going to, wait a minute, he's an anti-Semite. This is what totalitarian regimes or totalitarian parties do so well. And that's what they're doing. All this talk up about Schumer. Schumer didn't do anything close. Nothing close for the state of Israel that what Trump has done. All these things that happened with Israel, the moving of the capital, the Golan Heights, the cutting off of monies to the terrorist groups in Iran, the Abraham Accords. Schumer's been in Congress since he was 25 years old. The man's 75 years old. It took Donald Trump 2 years out of 4 years to get these things done. But let me finish with our little history lesson, then we'll get to the clip, which is going to frustrate everybody because this is how it works. The American media, such as it is, and the Democrat Party working together, and that's what totalitarian parties and regimes require. That's what they require. And so I write this. Let's see here. Moving here. Although the Democrat Party has recalibrated its modern racist targets like Democrats of old, it remains the party of anti-Semitism. In fact, as the Democrat Party's Marxist core continues to metastasize, now remember, this is well before October 7th, so does its anti-Semitism. For example, the current leader of the House Democrats and Speaker in waiting, Hakeem Jeffries, strongly defended his bigoted anti-Semitic uncle Leonard Jeffries when Hakeem Jeffries was a leading activist in college. Even then, CNN reported that Leonard Jeffries, quote, faced widespread backlash in the early 1990s after comments he made about the involvement of rich Jews in the African slave trade, a conspiracy planned, hold on, got to recalibrate my eyesight, and plotted and programmed out of Hollywood of Jewish executives who he said were responsible for denigrating black Americans in films. Dr. Jeffries and Minister Louis Farrakhan have come under intense fire, wrote Hakeem Jeffries in February 1992 as a college activist. Where do you think their interests lie? Dr. Jeffries has challenged the existing white supremacist educational system and long-standing distortion of history. His reward has been a media lynching, complete with character assassination and inflammatory, erroneous accusations. That's Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries also smeared black critics of his uncle. He said the House Negro of slavery era and the black conservative of today are both opportunists, interested in securing some measure of happiness for themselves within the existing social order. In both cases, the social order has blacks occupying the lowest societal echelon. By the way, he's never really apologized for this. For years, Jeffries has flatly lied about his past support in his statement for his uncle's vile anti-Semitism, but all is forgiven and forgotten, as Democrats have lined up in his defense. After all, power is their aphrodisiac, and absolute power is their aim. Our buddy Victor Davis Hanson, great man. In National Review, he wrote a piece. He said, the new anti-Semitism that grew up in the 1960s was certainly, in part, legitimized by the rise of overt African-American bigotry against Jews and coupled by a romantic affinity for Islam. It was further nursed on old stereotypes of cold and callous Jewish ghetto store owners, that is, the pawnbroker character, and expressed boldly in the assumption that black Americans were exempt from charges of bias and hatred. By the late 1970s, Israelis, and often by their extensive Jews in general, were demagogued by the left as Western white oppressors. Israel's supposed victims were romanticized abroad as exploited Middle Easterners. And by extension, Jews were similarly exploiting minorities at home in America. Soon it became common for the self-described black leaders to explain, to amplify, to contextualize, to be unapologetic, and it goes on and on. He talks about J.M.R. Wright and Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson and Hymietown. But it's more than that, as he points out, as my eyesight is struggling. Early September 2016, writes Rabbi Yaskov Menken, managing director of the Coalition of Jewish Values in The Observer, about the Obama administration. Said the Obama administration reacted angrily to a video which Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pointed out that the Palestinian Authority intended to be Judaism, that is, ethnically cleansed of Jews. The State Department willfully distorted Netanyahu's remarks, asserting he was promoting Israeli settlements and reiterating its false claim that their settlements are illegal. In other words, the Obama administration twisted a statement about Arab bigotry against Jews into a perceived injustice against Arabs. Now, this is exactly what Schumer's doing in this sense. He's saying, don't look at me, look at Trump. Trump just used an anti-Semitic trope, just like Bash did. There was no anti-Semitic trope. The Democrats are on defense now. They can't be for the river to the sea crowd and at the same time pretend they're supporting Israel. Biden made his choice. He's for the river to the sea crowd. That's what he's for. But Schumer has a problem. So what does Schumer do? He accuses Trump of being an anti-Semite. Listen to this. It's going to make your stomach sick, but listen to this. Go.
Today, by addressing the reprehensible and dangerous comments made yesterday by former President Trump. The former president's comments were utterly disgusting and a textbook example of the kind of anti-Semitism facing Jews, pushing the dangerous anti-Semitism trope of dual loyalty.
See that? Hold on. He never, ever did that. Not dual loyalty. Dual loyalty never came out of his mouth. He never said you need to choose, between America and country and anything else. He attacked the Democrat Party. This is the sleight of hand. I want all the backbenchers to listen to my point. Please embrace it. Make the case. Play what Dana Bash said. Play what Schumer said. I'm serious. And understand that they want Trump to have said what they say he said. But he never did. He never said Jews have to choose between their faith and their beliefs and their country. He said Jews shouldn't vote for the Democrat Party because it hates them and it hates the state of Israel. The Democrat Party is not America. The Democrat Party does hate America. Fundamental transformation. Tlaib, AOC, Bernie Sanders. That's right. And Biden. And the same with Israel. Look, folks, we're not deaf, dumb, and blind. We've been hearing and watching this go on now for months. The Democrats in the media, the Democrats commentators, Biden, Sanders, Blinken, Kamala Harris, all singing from the same sheet. And now they have this. And you'll hear the grifter, burpers, like Donnie Douche and others who will come on these different panels, and they'll say the same thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people on the panels won't even know how to respond. So listen to me, folks, in the media, serious people who are afraid about what's happening to this country and what's happening to Israel and around the world, for that matter. Trump never said you have to choose between Judaism and your country. Trump said, if you're Jewish, you're out of your mind to vote for a party that hates you. He's right. That's not a trope. That's not an anti-Semitic trope. The Democrat Party is filled with anti-Semites in the Oval Office, in the State Department, in Congress, in the media, at Mediaite, at Media Matters, at the Drudge Report. That's where they are. With the links and the this and the manipulation of the audio and the titles and all the rest. Just like they twisted Trump's words over the weekend. Now, we've got 8 months to go, folks. Trying to put him in jail. Trying to bankrupt him. Now putting words in his mouth. Now lying through their quasi-toothless mouth. about what he said again? You SOB, Schumer, you're a coward. You'll never come on this program where I can confront you and verbally rip you to shreds because you need a good verbal lashing. You really do. You are pathetic. You are a sickening reprobate, a chameleon, power at any price. No, he never said, if you're Jewish, you have to choose between your faith and your country. That's the trope. They know it. So they are repeating Hitler's lies. They are repeating Hitler's Jew hatred. Trump never said that. Trump said essentially, don't vote Democrat. They don't like you. They hate you. They're anti-Israel. Why would you vote Democrat? Oh, look at that. It's a trope. Pick between your faith and your country. What did I say? They always put their party as country. That's why you can't challenge it. Regardless of your race or your beliefs, the party comes first. Whether it's slavery, segregation, eugenics, Jim Crow, whether it's economic socialism or open borders, whether it's anti-Semitic. Let me put it here this way. When did Chuck Schumer go to the floor of the Senate and by name condemn Rashida Tlaib? Never. Never. When did he go to the floor of the Senate and condemn AOC, who he's scared to death of her challenge from the left? Never. Never. When did he go to the floor of the Senate, point to his boyfriend there, Bernie Sanders, and say, hey, buddy, what's with you? Never. Not a word. And instead of going to the Senate floor and admonishing his own president, I'm a friend of Joe Biden. Been a friend of Joe Biden since we've both been here 112 years. But what he's doing to Israel is unacceptable. His funding of Iran and their terrorist surrogates is unacceptable. He's never given that speech. And that's the point. And that's Trump's point. And it's been my point. Chuck Schumer is a fraud and a phony when it came to the nuclear deal, too. Power baby, party baby, and there he goes, just like Dana Bash. There's no difference between them. It's not a dime's worth of difference between them. They just wear different hats. One's in the Senate, one's at CNN. And what is it? That trope. It's so anti-Semitic. What he said had nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Nothing. So for the Democrat Party and its operatives in the media, in Congress, in the White House, and all through the culture, party replaces country. And what they are demanding, listen, America, is fealty to the Democrat Party, not their country. How dare you say that Jews shouldn't be Democrats or vote for Democrats because they're voting against their own survival? How dare you say that, Trump? That's an old bromide that's used against Jews. No, it's not. You Democrats are bastards. That's basically what he's saying. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Chuck Schumer is an unconscionable demagogue, as is Dana Bash and others on the left in the Democrat Party. He brings up Charlottesville, so he lies. He brings up Nick Fuentes, who I despise, in his minute-and-a-half speech on the Senate floor. Right, Mr. Producer? What doesn't he bring up? Joe Biden blocking integration when he comes into the Senate. Joe Biden's close friendship with George Wallace. Joe Biden's close friendship with three men who were known as the greatest segregationist racists in the history of the Senate, if you don't count Lyndon Johnson. And that would be Stennis, and that would be Eastland, and that would be Robert Byrd. He doesn't mention any of that. Why is it? He doesn't mention the 1994 crime bill, which focused on crack over cocaine. When the NAACP said to old Joe, this is focused on our communities. Turns out they were right. Joe would later apologize. Why doesn't Schumer go to the floor of the Senate and mention that? And why doesn't Schumer mention that he's the biggest supporter, the biggest anti-Semite to ever be in the White House, Joe Biden. How come Schumer doesn't mention that? Or call out his own party? Or call out the members of his party by name? Because he's a lowlife. That's why. A lowlife. We will play, once again, after the break, what Donald Trump said. And you will see exactly what he said. But the media are at it again. Twisting his words and applying it in a way that's a lie. And there's so many gullible people out there. First, you have the 14 people who watch CNN, then you have the 28 people who watch MSNBC. But it becomes repetitive. I've seen that. So something will come out by one of the news agencies, then it'll be picked up by left-wing hacks at the Huffington Gross, then it'll be picked up by the Daily Bestiality, then it'll be picked up by Mediocreite, then it'll be pushed and put all of a sudden, oh my goodness, look at this, look what Trump said. Trump said, the Democrat Party hates you, don't support it. Oh, that is an anti-Semitic trope, jackasses.
Mark Levin, making conservatism great again. Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
I'm going to post something immediately after the show on Schumer, because he's an unconscionable serial liar. Trump never directly or implicitly spoke of dual loyalty, unless you believe the Democrat Party is the country. Isn't that the point, Mr. Producer? Hold on. Anyway, I hope you will check it out and spread it everywhere. Once more, let's listen to Donald Trump. Go ahead.
Could you explain why is it, seemingly, that this administration, including Chuck Schumer in the Senate, so hate the man that Israel chose as their prime minister? Why do the Democrats hate Bibi Netanyahu?
I actually think they hate Israel.
Yes.
I don't think they hate it. I think they hate Israel. And the Democrat Party hates Israel. And the Democrat Party, if you remember, when many Israeli representatives, including Netanyahu, when they came to the country begging, at that time President Obama, please don't make the Iran nuclear deal, which is a disaster and was a disaster. And I ended it. But unfortunately, they didn't do anything with the ending of it. I ended it and would have had a new deal made with Iran. It would have been good for everybody, and there would have been no nuclear weapons. You know, they're very close to getting a nuclear weapon right now. Yes. And once they have that, it becomes a different form of negotiation, a much more difficult negotiation. But I really believe they hate Israel, and they also see a lot of votes. Don't forget, when you see those Palestinian marches, even I'm amazed at how many people are in those marches. And guys like Schumer see that, and to him it's votes. I think it's votes more than anything else, because he was always pro-Israel. He's very anti-Israel now. Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion, they hate everything about Israel, and they should be ashamed of themselves, because Israel will be destroyed. You have Iran now making a nuclear weapon. None of that would have happened with me. That's a big thing. With me, Iran was broke.
Mm-hmm. That's what the man said. Trump never directly or implicitly spoke of dual loyalty. Whether Schumer likes it or not, his detestable party is not the country. And loyalty to his party, which is spreading anti-Semitism and undermining Israel's very existence with the likes of Sanders and Tlaib and many others from Biden down, is a suicide pact. For Schumer, loyalty to the Democrat Party is the same as loyalty to country. Schumer thinks and speaks like a Marxist, because for them, party is above country. And this is how the propagandists work. That's number one. Number two, this president is the only president in American history to have Jewish children and grandchildren. Donnie Douche. What's his name? Douche, right? I think it is. Spelled like it anyway. Number three, look what he did for the state of Israel. And look what Biden's doing to the state of Israel. If you're Jewish and you vote for Biden and you vote for the Democrats, You're voting against your own country's survival, the United States, and your own ancestral home survival, Israel. It has nothing to do with dual loyalty. To call out liberal Democrats as dual loyalty? You see where we're going with this? Because look at their mind, their fascistic, totalitarian, Marxist mind. The Democrat Party's in charge. That's it. One party state. That's it. Dual loyalty. Like Hitler, they say. It's hard to stomach these bums. You know, Mr. Producer, I'm going to catch you off guard here. Do we have any good callers? I think I've been lecturing, and I've got a stack of stuff here, but honestly, I'd like some input from some smart people. Go ahead. Sam in Brooklyn, go ahead. Sam? All right, who else do we have? Sam was going to disagree with me. Who else do we have? WRNN, Phil, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Go right ahead.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm okay, buddy. How are you?
All right. I just want to say something. Not all non-practicing Jews are on the side.
All right, look, when it's kind of hard. Should I name them by name? All 3.5 million? Use your head.
I'm not naming.
Obviously, I'm talking about a group of people, not every single person in the group. How would I do that? How could I do that? And Mr. Producer, how many times have I said over and over again, I'm not talking about everybody, but I even say that when I'm talking about Muslims, when I'm talking about Marxists, when I'm talking about... So what is your problem? What do you want to say?
Oh, it's not my problem. I was just making a point that if you're brought up properly and you're brought up right in your mind and your heart, you always do the right thing by your country.
No, you don't.
But that's the only thing I'm asking.
No, you don't. You've got a lot of good people who brought up children. Some of them don't do what's right or what's good for their country. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Zero. Maybe it's a little too deep. I'm explaining this effectively, this battle between mostly secular, left-wing, Democrat Jews, and I'd say the same thing about Catholics and other religions, and those who actually embrace and practice their faith. But it's not me, Mark. I'm not one of them. So why are you raising your hand? I'm not talking about you. All right, thanks for your call. I'm observing what's taking place. Why does Thomas Friedman attack the government of Israel as radical right wing? Because they have cabinet members who are Orthodox Jews. Well, what explains that? I'm telling you what explains that. How do you explain Bernie Sanders? How do you explain to Chuck Schumer going to the floor of the Senate, defending the most anti-Semitic president since Franklin Roosevelt? And now he's attacking the most pro-Israel president, Trump, as using a trope, the dual loyalty trope. Because if you're not loyal to the Democrat Party, you see, then what Trump is saying is if you're not loyal to the Democrat Party, then you're not a loyal Jew. Dual loyalty. Dual loyalty to what, you idiot? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what's funny? Tlaib and Omar actually do have dual loyalties. That's the thing. They're not Jewish, but they have dual loyalties. Why didn't Schumer mention Biden's opposition to integrating public schools, his close friendship with several of the Senate's most notorious racists and segregationists, and his support for a crime bill that targeted black Americans, or the award Biden received from George Wallace, who Biden praised? Why didn't Schumer go to the Senate floor and condemn Biden and Blinken for funding Iran, Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and the PLO, or any of the other overt acts by his party to destroy the state of Israel and give aid and comfort to his enemies? That's right. Where's Schumer been? Where's Schumer been? The fact is, Schumer has given aid and comfort to Israel's enemies. That's where Schumer's been. So there's Biden threatening to cut off arms to Israel. And Schumer, the greatest defender of Israel in our history, is applauding Biden. They can't even debate. They can't fight. They can't say, no, you should vote for Democrats if you're Jewish because of all these great things we don't know. Now Trump is an anti-Semite. And anybody who opposes Schumer and the Democrats will be an anti-Semite. They have their media to go along with their character assassination campaign. They trash Netanyahu. They use Hamas's lies on civilian casualties. They've done no investigations into CARE, which is a Hamas front group. They've done no investigations into these imams in Dearbornistan and other parts of the country, in California, New Jersey. Nothing. They don't lift a finger. They don't go to the border and see who's coming across the border. People also from the Middle East, as well as communist China and so forth. They have no interest in that. And why should they? If you want to fundamentally transform America, you don't give a damn about America. You don't give a damn about our border. You don't give a damn about modern day slavery and sex trafficking and child trafficking and all the rest. You don't care. But Trump is the threat. No, he's not. Trump is our only opportunity to prevent this, America. He's no Hitler and he's no anti-Semite. Or he wouldn't have done 10% of the things he's done for the Jewish community in America and the Israelis overseas. 1,000 times more than Biden ever did, despite his big fat mouth, and 1,000 times more than Schumer ever did, despite showing up at all the right events and claiming that he's Israel's savior. Well, if he's Israel's savior, Israel's done. Now, the real dual loyalty is between country and the Democrat Party. They've basically said it. Don't you dare criticize the Democrat Party. Don't you dare tell Jewish people, or for that matter, black people or Hispanic, any people, to break from the Democrat Party. They're our saviors. They're our great hope. And if you do, you're obviously a racist or an anti-Semite or a homophobe or a misogynist or whatever the hell the new words are. If you don't support the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party should have been destroyed a long time ago. It is such an evil entity throughout American history. Evil. Because it puts its party first. It puts its party first. Incredible. Incredible how they twist things. All right, give me another caller, Mr. Producer. Yes. Charleston, South Carolina, WTAM. Neil, how are you, Neil? TMA, I meant.
Mark,
Neil, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I want to let you know that, first of all, I'll never change my last name. And
oh, you mean like John Leibowitz?
Yeah, these guys, they got no spine. They got no spine whatsoever. My grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. I'm a first-generation American. He was born on the 4th of July, and he always wore an American flag and taught me to be so patriotic. And I try to instill some of these values in my children, and I want to let you know that there's still some good American Jews that are conservative.
Listen, I know this. This isn't to me about Jews. This to me is about the Democrat Party, the tyranny of the Democrat Party, and how they use people, whether it's Jews or blacks or Hispanics or whomever. Like right now. Right now, they want you to believe that the greatest friend Israel ever had in the Oval Office is an anti-Semite. That's what the Democrat Party wants you to believe. They want you to believe Clarence Thomas, the second black justice ever appointed to the Supreme Court, is a white supremacist. They want you to believe Tim Scott, the first black senator from the state of South Carolina, modern times anyway, that he's an Uncle Tom. They go down the list where people are actually successful without being part of the Democrat Party. In fact, fighting, challenging the Democrat Party. You're not allowed to do it. The Democrat Party is the country. Dana Bash said so. Chuck Schumer's saying it right now. The due loyalty trope. Oh, it's despicable. It's anti-Semitic. Yes, it is. And Trump never said it. Look carefully at their words. Look carefully at Trump's words. Then you will see what we are up against. Chapter 4 in the Democrat Party Hates America. People who promote tyranny and totalitarian mindsets. They try to control the language, control the message, control the narrative. That's what you're seeing. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, freedom fighters everywhere, our friends in Ukraine, our brothers and sisters in Israel, and most of all, I thank each one of you. God bless you, my fellow Americans, and I'll see you tomorrow.